specifically with helping the three inner planets, and that's what I think. I think that that's how this system was devised, you see. The little baby sun would work in concert with the three inner planets, allowing the big sun to concentrate its energies on the outer planets. Just a theory, but it all makes sense. So, another piece. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, to me, this is so fascinating. I'm like on the edge of my seat right now.
Well, we researched these things, and we'll go back to that date, that 1447 date. We'll come back to that, okay?
Yeah.
But I want to finish up about what X is and what X isn't, okay? So in our theoretical approach to this, we believe that another very large, nasty, gnarly piece of this twisted asteroid monster rock was thrown right at the sun, and as fate or destiny would have it, it collided head on with the little baby sun, instantly killing its fusion burning mechanism with a head-on collision, and it spun it 180 degrees on its axis, hurtling it out now, taking it out of its normal counterclockwise motion. It hit it so hard it spun it around and sent it out on a clockwise trajectory and motion, once again going against the normal flow. So when it's cast away, do you remember the principle of when Apollo 13 got into trouble and they had to use the going behind the moon as a slingshot to send it back?
Right.
Okay. That same principle would probably be in effect for this little baby sun if it comes back every 36 to 4,000 years, because we believe it probably exits here, kicked out by the gravitational and dimensional forces of our sun, kicks it outward, and then it's recaptured by possibly this dark blue dwarf, which could have been the third sun in our system, and then slingshotted back in, and here it comes, and here we are on this particular date in time and history and destiny when I think it's coming back. And it has a name. On the front of our book, we call it wormwood. Where did I get that from? Real simple. We're working toward 1447 BC here, so just hang tight. Get your pencils ready too. We're going to play a numerological. Okay, I'm going to give you another hint. I'm going to break for just a second. Okay, write these numbers down, everybody. 12-21-12. I'll do it again. 12-21-12. Okay? Now, we'll come back to that too. As this thing returns, it affects everything that it either passes or draws into its field of gravitational influence. This thing is like a huge magnet with a mass 60 times that of Saturn. It pushes and pulls a debris field. And that's where it gets his name, the fiery dragon and the creature from hell. And in our book, we take you through almost 200,000 years of history, where we tell you when this thing has come back time and time and time and time again, leading you to the same conclusion that we're discussing, is that, and now let's go to 1447 BCE. We think that this object has a return lifespan of sometimes between 3,600 and 4,000 years. And it could be off 150 years, less or more. The year 1447 is very significant. That's before the Common Era, before the birth of Christ. In that, it seems to coincide with biblical and archaeological evidence that was the same period of year when Moses was leading the Israelites out of bondage in Egypt. Now, in the movie, I'm sure I've seen the movie a dozen times around Easter, you'll see it takes place in about an hour, just under 2 hours, okay? Well, in actuality, it probably took a year or 2 years, you see? You're moving millions of people, you see? So, The time period around 1447 BCE. Now, on top of that, write 2010.
Okay.
Over the 1447 BCE.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do the subtraction. What do you get?
Uh-oh. I don't have my calculator.
Okay. Well, you'll find it's only about 144 years short.
Oh, yeah.
3,600 years. Now,
wow.
That's too close to shave it. Now, I didn't make that up. In other words, I didn't manufacture the date of 1447 just to fit my equation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it works out. So when you start finding evidence like this, and by the way, all that evidence is found in the book of Exodus, and we talk about it in the book.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that all those strange things that happened via Moses' rod. Do you remember when he would walk and he'd have his rod before him, and it was the rod that created all the magic that made all the things happen?
Mm-hmm.
When he turned the rivers to red, and then when he stood up to the sun. By the way, the Egyptians, the number one god they worshipped was Ra, which was the sun. That was their god. So when Moses held up his rod to the sun and said to the sun, "Thou shalt not move," and suddenly the earth appears to grind to a stop, and the sun shines directly overhead at noon for 3 hours and never moved. Now, in effect, Moses didn't stop the sun. What in effect happened was it was the earth that stopped in its rotation.
Oh, wow. Absolutely.
See, that's what caused the parting of the Red Sea, and that's what caused all the earthquakes and the dams to break and all the pestilence and all the things, all the woes that Moses brought upon Pharaoh and his kingdom were simply manifestations of what happens every time this planetary body comes circling out from behind the sun and is slung back out again. It doesn't come through the solar system. It doesn't bang into anything. It doesn't smash into anything. It just causes real nasty disruptions to the function, bearing, power, and frequency of our sun.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we've been experiencing that now.
Yes, Dr. Rand, if I may interrupt for a second, I want to say this is everything. I had thought this was just a nothing event a year ago, but I have heard enough now to see all the disruptions. I've heard that that during the time of Moses, this was the last passing. And even tonight, I live in Maryland. I saw a wall cloud like I have only seen in Oklahoma come in overhead over Washington, D.C. tonight.
Ooh, that's not good.
And I got to say, it's starting to get obvious. So I'm very fascinated by everything you're saying here. But just wanted to contribute that one factor.
I appreciate you being observant. Let me say this. I only hope that everyone listening tonight remains or will become observant after we have some time to spend with you tonight.
Well, you got my attention.
Well, this book is not about doom and gloom. I'm not Mr. Doom and Gloom, and I'm not the scepter of death and all these. I've been, boy, people have been saying some weird things lately, like, what does he know about doom and gloom? Well, it's not about doom and gloom. It's about how about trying to figure out, first of all, what's going on. Listen, if you're not only confused by healthcare and politics and the stock market and food and oil on the beaches and terrorism, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Amen.
Okay. Now, this discussion in no way is associated with a conspiracy theory. I don't deal with conspiracy. I just deal with the facts. And then once everything is